this Clarence Thomas concurrence about Jack Smith not being a proper special counsel. He didn't say he's not. He said he's got serious questions about whether he's an appropriate special counsel, given that we don't have a special counsel statute anymore. He hasn't been properly appointed by the executive branch. He's not somebody who's been appointed by the president, confirmed by the Senate. And he said he thinks that we should be determining whether the special counsel is valid at all before we proceed with any of these prosecutions. Was a very interesting tell on whether Jack Smith can survive, because that's another legal argument that's working its way up through the courts right now. And I'll bet you anything he's got another 4 votes on his side on that. What did you make of that?
There's no question he does, because Jack Smith's office is clearly unconstitutional. You have to have offices established by the Constitution or by congressional statute. The independent counsel statute expired after the Ken Starr investigation of Clinton. Congress has never reestablished an independent counsel or a special counsel office. It's been done through Department of Justice regulations. And the problem with that is when you are hiring, essentially Jack Smith's not an officer. He's an employee. He's just like an assistant U.S. attorney in a U.S. attorney's office. But the difference is the U.S. attorney is Senate confirmed and appointed by the president, and that U.S. attorney supervises the assistant U.S. attorneys on a day-to-day basis. The special counsel regulations actually make it where the attorney general, to whom the special counsel reports on paper, actually can't supervise the special counsel on a day-to-day basis. So this is clearly unconstitutional, this whole special counsel regime.
That's another one that, if the high court rules accordingly, would help Joe Biden. Because if special counsel Jack Smith is not appropriate, then special counsel Robert Hur.
Right, Davis.
Right. You never know. I mean, that could come back to help him as well. But okay, here is Trump's attorney, Will Scharf, on how he thinks this immunity decision is going to affect the New York trial. And there's breaking news on Trump's maneuvering in that trial. This January 11th sentencing may be off. Watch.
Yeah, absolutely, Caitlin. The Supreme Court was very clear that for acts that fall within the outer perimeter of the president's official responsibilities, acts that are presumptively immune from prosecution, that evidence of those acts cannot be used to try essentially private acts. So what we have in New York is a situation where a substantial number of official acts of the presidency, things that we believe are official acts, were used as evidence to support the charges in that New York trial. We believe that corrupts that trial, that indicates that jury verdict needs to be overturned, and at the very least, we deserve a new trial where those immune acts will not come into evidence as the Supreme Court dictated today.
And no sooner did he say that, Mike, than Trump filed a motion seeking to throw out this verdict, saying you allowed official acts to come into evidence, and that was improper, pursuant to our discussion earlier, and therefore there should be no sentencing, and this conviction should be overturned. How do you like his chances?
Well, if you had a fair judge, you'd have very good chances. But I think that this evidence is what Will Scharf just said is absolutely correct, and it's going to get this conviction reversed on appeal for that issue alone. But the issue, and there's so many other issues. The problem is that you have a corrupt, partisan rigged process and a corrupt and partisan judge in this Juan Merchan, whose adult daughter he donated to Biden and another anti-Trump cause that creates a recusal issue under New York statute. You also have the fact that his adult daughter, Lauren Merchan, is raising millions of dollars off this unprecedented trial of Trump in New York, requiring Judge Merchan's recusal under New York statute. And that's not just me saying it. Will was just on Caitlin Collins' show. There was a former federal Clinton judge on Caitlin Collins' show on April 5th who said very clearly that Judge Merchan had to recuse under New York statute because his daughter has a financial stake in this criminal prosecution. She's raising millions of dollars as a Democrat fundraiser. She's taking a cut. When President Trump raised this as evidence with Judge Merchan retaliated against President Trump and said that he's going to throw Trump in prison if he mentions Lauren Michonne's name. There are so many other reasons that this trial was corrupt. You had a rigged jury
But wait,
selection
I don't want to
process.
go back all through the New York trial, but I do think I'm interested because I think this judge will either some of these acts he'll say were unofficial. He'll say they were clearly unofficial and therefore not within the Supreme Court's ruling. But some of them he's going to have a trickier time saying were clearly unofficial. I mean, some of these actions that Trump was prosecuted for happened while he was in the Oval Office. He was the sitting president. And I don't know, there's at least a colorable argument. And this court is saying the lower courts need to have a hearing, an evidentiary hearing to figure out whether it's official or unofficial. And if he decides not to do that, I mean, no judge wants to be reversed. That's the number one thing they don't want. And in the way, like, it would be pretty brazen to flout the U.S. Supreme Court within a week of its ruling. I said before January 11th, the hearing's on July 11th for Trump's sentencing. I don't know. And something interesting happened on Monday, Mike. The prosecution was supposed to make its sentencing recommendation for Trump, and it didn't in the New York case, at least not that the docket reflects. So what do you think is going to happen? You think he's actually going to get sentenced on July 11th, or do you think this judge is going to take another look?
I think this judge is going to sentence Trump on July 11th because this judge has proven over and over and over that he's ignored the Supreme Court and the Constitution, including the fact that the judge said that the jury did not have to unanimously agree to all the elements of the criminal charges. They can disagree on the underlying second crime that turned bookkeeping misdemeanors into felonies. The judge just said, "Oh, you could pick whatever you want. You can have 444 or whatever you want," right? So this judge has proven over the course of this trial he doesn't care about what the Supreme Court has held in the past, and he's corrupt. He doesn't want his daughter Laura Michonne to get cut off from the Democrat fundraising machine,
and he hates Trump.
She's making a lot of money.
And he hates Trump. And I think that's his biggest motivation of all. Here was an interesting point, something I've never said before, by Lawrence O'Donnell last night on his show, because the January 6th case is all but dead. I mean, it's all but dead. In the wake of Fisher, which gutted the main claim against Trump on the January 6th stuff, and now in the wake of the presidential immunity ruling, I don't know what's left. But Judge Chutkan, the district court judge in that case, is going to have said evidentiary hearing. And the court seemed very disdainful of her. The majority was saying, like, in a case this complex and this important, there was no evidentiary hearing at all on what the nature of the acts was, whether they were considered in his official capacity or as candidate Trump, and seemed to be chastising the lower court and, frankly, the D.C. Court of Appeals for rushing to judgment because they wanted to get Trump as opposed to doing their jobs. So good for the SCOTUS majority on that. In any event, though, now there will be a hearing by Judge Chutkan, she doesn't like Trump. And Lawrence O'Donnell made the following point. Take a listen.
The very bad news for Donald Trump in this decision today, and for candidate Trump, very, very bad, is that Mike Pence is going to walk into a federal courtroom, raise his right hand, take an oath to tell the truth, and testify against Donald Trump in this case in September. But you're going to see this incredible January 6th hearing on steroids, possibly for 6-8 weeks, September, October, maybe.
So do you agree with that? Not that it's going to be terrible for Trump, but do you think that's what's about to happen?
It could, but remember the Supreme Court also said that the president's communications with his vice president, I think I'd have to go back and look at the opinion. I thought it was part of his core constitutional responsibilities to communicate with his vice president.
I think they said probably. I think that one got less protection than attorneys' conversations with the attorney general. And I think that's more situation based. So presumption, or at least subject to a fact finding hearing.
Yeah, well, I think they said at least the presumption, right? So we'll see on that one. I think that communications between the president and the vice president might be core constitutional responsibilities that are absolutely immune. But even if Pence comes in and testifies against Trump, I don't think the American people give a damn about January 6th, right? I just think people are way over January 6th. They care about the fact that Interest rates are very high. Inflation is bad. The border is a disaster. Crime is high. They're not doing well at home, right? They're suffering at home. So I don't think they care about what the DC Democrats care about. January 6th, they act like it's they act like it's worse than the Civil War, and the American people just don't give a damn. And that's what's so frustrating.
Yeah, like if we could just have one more hearing on it, then people will see it the way we see it. Like, we've had hearings coming out the ears on this thing. We've had an impeachment process, primetime addresses. We've had a whole congressional committee, executive produced by ABC News, former chief executive. I mean, my God, how many more can we have before they realize what you said? People care about their kitchen table issues. This July 4th, as we celebrate the birth of our nation, it's important to reflect on the freedoms our forefathers fought for. But today, these freedoms are under attack. Look no further than the treatment of President Trump and the lawfare we're seeing this year. That's why now more than ever, we need organizations that are fighting back. AMAC is the Association of Mature American Citizens. And this is more than just a senior discount organization. AMAC is dedicated to protecting conservative values and defending our rights. Just listen to the way they talk about themselves in this ad copy. They're not afraid. They're ready to fight and to stand up for conservative values, unlike some other senior organizations, okay? You can learn more about how AMAC is actively fighting for your freedom by visiting amac.us/Megyn. By joining AMAC, you're not just becoming a member, you're becoming part of a movement. This July 4th, stand united. Join AMAC today and ensure that your voice is heard. amac.us/MEGYN. Together, Americans can make a difference. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.